sincerity and conviction. The chamber was dimly lit, the flickering flames of the candles casting long shadows on the stone walls. The atmosphere was thick with anticipation as Kodo and Joku sat across from each other, the weight of their conversation palpable. The air seemed to hum with the gravity of the words exchanged between them, words that would shape the future of their people, and perhaps, the very fabric of their world. Kodo, still young but with an air of wisdom that belied his years, fixed his gaze on Joku, the seasoned scholar who had mentored him since he was a child. Joku's eyes, deep and penetrating, were filled with sincerity and conviction as he spoke, his voice a steady current that carried the weight of decades of study and contemplation. "You are the hope of your parents, Kodo," Joku began, his tone measured yet laden with emotion. "You are the hope of me and all humanity. The path before you is not an ordinary one. It is a path that will require every ounce of your strength, every bit of your intellect, and all the courage you can muster. You will be the king in the future, leading us through the storms of this life." Kodo absorbed the words, his expression thoughtful. The weight of responsibility that Joku spoke of settled on his shoulders, yet it did not crush him. Instead, it filled him with a sense of purpose, a purpose that was both daunting and exhilarating. "How?" Kodo asked, his voice betraying a mix of anticipation and apprehension. He was eager to understand, to grasp the full extent of what Joku was laying before him. Joku leaned forward, his gaze unwavering. "I've spent my whole life studying religion," he said, his voice infused with the depth of his conviction. "Religion is not just a collection of rituals and prayers. It is a complex system of beliefs, concepts, and activities that relate to the reverence and worship of the supernatural, the transcendent, or the spiritual. It encompasses teachings, precepts, rituals, and institutions that guide its followers." Kodo listened intently, his curiosity piqued by Joku's words. He had always known Joku to be a man of great wisdom, a scholar whose understanding of the world went far beyond the superficial. But now, as Joku spoke, Kodo realized that his mentor was offering him something far more profound, a vision, a purpose that transcended the ordinary. "So, religion is more than just rituals and prayers?" Kodo inquired, his mind racing to grasp the deeper meaning behind Joku's teachings. Joku nodded, his expression solemn. "Indeed. Religion influences culture, ethics, and values. It brings people together, encouraging them to do good, to support each other, and to find meaning and purpose in life. It is a force that can unite or divide, that can uplift or oppress. And it has been a fundamental part of human evolution, a tool that has enhanced social communication among our ancestors, increasing their chances of survival." As Kodo processed Joku's words, he felt the magnitude of what was being asked of him. The idea of founding a religion, a new faith that had never existed in their civilization, was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. But deep down, Kodo sensed that this was his destiny, a path that he was uniquely suited to walk. "You need me to create a religion?" Kodo asked, his voice steady despite the enormity of the task before him. "A religion that has never existed in this civilization. Is that so?" Joku's gaze softened, a faint smile playing at the corners of his lips. "That's right," he confirmed. "You will be the one to found this religion. You will be the one to lead us, to guide us through the storms of life, for whatever purpose you have, even if it is your personal purpose. This is your destiny, Kodo. The time has come for you to step into the role that you were born to play." The words hung in the air, charged with a sense of inevitability. Kodo felt a surge of emotion, a mixture of fear, excitement, and determination. The path that Joku had laid out before him was fraught with challenges, but it was also filled with possibilities. Kodo knew that this was not just about creating a new set of beliefs or rituals. It was about forging a new way of life, a new way of understanding the world, a new way of connecting with the divine. The dawn of a religion that bore the imprint of Kodo's purpose began to take shape, ready to guide the people towards a new spiritual journey. The burden of faith. The evening sun cast long shadows across the stone chamber, its golden light filtering through the narrow windows, illuminating the dust particles that danced in the air. Joku, the seasoned scholar, sat opposite Kodo, his expression grave and his demeanor calm. The gravity of their conversation hung heavy between them, the silence filled with unspoken anticipation. Building a new religion is a complex process that requires carefulness, patience, and a persistent pursuit of goals, Joku began, his voice steady and measured, the words imbued with the wisdom of decades of study and contemplation. He looked directly at Kodo, his eyes conveying both the seriousness of the task at hand and the deep confidence he had in the young leader. I believe you possess these qualities, Kodo. But understand this, religion demands a deep understanding of not just spiritual matters, but of religion, culture, history, society, and the various factors that shape them all. Kodo, his youthful face marked by a mix of determination and apprehension, listened intently. The task before him was monumental, and he knew it. Yet, Joku's presence provided a sense of reassurance, a guiding hand in the darkness of uncertainty. Rest assured, Joku continued, sensing Kodo's inner turmoil. I will assist you in this endeavor. You will be the inaugural leader of the Tsisu religion, and I will be your advisor, your confidant, your guide in this sacred mission. Kodo nodded, his mind racing as he absorbed the implications of Joku's words. The thought of founding a new religion, of guiding his people towards a spiritual awakening, was both exhilarating and terrifying. But with Joku by his side, he felt a surge of confidence, a burgeoning belief that he could rise to the challenge. Joku leaned forward, his voice taking on a solemn tone. Tsisu, he began, his words slow and deliberate, is the very essence of our civilization. All the people on this continent worship Tsisu, the one who is believed to have founded this very world. By making Tsisu the central figure in our religion, we will not be introducing something new, but rather deepening the faith that already exists. This is our strongest asset, Kodo. Kodo's gaze sharpened as he listened, the weight of responsibility pressing down on him like a physical force. The name Tsisu carried with it centuries of tradition, belief, and power. It was a name that resonated in the hearts of the people, a name that could unite them under a single banner, a single faith. Joku continued, his voice infused with the certainty of his conviction. People already believe in Tsisu, Kodo. They will believe in you as well, if you present yourself as Tsisu's chosen leader. This collective faith will provide you with the strength of an army, with followers numbering in the hundreds of thousands. We will position Tsisu as the focal point of our preaching, and you, Kodo, must have faith in yourself for others to have faith in you. You will be the seed of the soul, the beacon that relieves everyone's pain. The gravity of Joku's words settled heavily on Kodo's shoulders, yet within him, a spark of purpose began to ignite. The thought of leading his people, of being the one to guide them towards a brighter future, filled him with a sense of determination he had never known before. He could see the path laid out before him, a path that would lead not just to the unification of his people, but to the creation of something far greater than himself. The responsibility was immense, but so was the opportunity. And in this moment, Kodo knew he was ready to embrace it. Let me explain what faith is, Joku continued, sensing Kodo's growing resolve. Faith is belief or trust in a person, thing, or concept. In a religious context, faith is the belief in a particular religious system. Religious individuals often perceive faith as confidence rooted in a perceived degree of assurance, while skeptics may view faith as mere belief without proof. Kodo's brow furrowed in concentration as he absorbed Joku's words. The concept of faith, though seemingly simple, was complex and multifaceted. It was the foundation upon which religions were built, the force that could move mountains and unite nations. But it was also fragile, easily swayed by doubt and fear. Kodo understood that his role as a leader would be to nurture this faith, to strengthen it, to ensure that it could withstand the trials and tribulations that lay ahead. Joku's voice softened as he looked at Kodo, his expression one of deep respect and admiration. Do you fully understand the meaning of what I have said? He asked, his voice filled with expectation. Kodo, deep in contemplation, nodded slowly. I do, he replied, his voice steady. He realized now the enormity of the task before him. Founding the Tsisu religion was not just about creating rituals or preaching doctrines. It was about becoming a beacon of hope, a leader who could guide his people through the darkest of times. It was about being a source of strength and comfort, about giving people something to believe in, something that could sustain them in the face of adversity. As he looked into Joku's eyes, Kodo felt a deep sense of gratitude for the older man's guidance. Without Joku, this path would have seemed impossible. But now, with Joku by his side, Kodo felt ready to take on the challenge. He knew that the journey ahead would be long and difficult, but he also knew that it was a journey worth taking. Joku, sensing Kodo's resolve, allowed a faint smile to touch his lips. "You have the potential to lead, Kodo," he said softly. "You have the strength, the wisdom, and the compassion that is needed to guide our people. And with Sisu as our guiding light, there is no limit to what we can achieve." Kodo nodded, his heart filled with determination. "I will do it," he said firmly. "I will lead our people. I will create this religion. I will be the beacon of hope that they need." Joku's smile widened, his eyes filled with pride. "I knew you would," he said. "And I will be with you every step of the way. Together, we will build something that will endure for generations to come." As the evening sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow across the chamber, Kodo and Joku stood in silence, their minds and hearts united in purpose. The path ahead was fraught with challenges, but it was also filled with promise. And as they looked to the future, they knew that they were ready to face whatever came their way. The dawn of a new faith was upon them, a faith that would guide their people through the storms of life, offering solace and strength in a world that was often harsh and unforgiving. And as Kodo prepared to take his first steps on this sacred path, he knew that he was not alone. With Joku by his side, and the faith of his people behind him, he was ready to lead them into a new era of hope and enlightenment. The seed of faith. The evening sky, tinged with hues of orange and pink, cast a warm glow over the room as Joku and Kodo sat together, the weight of their shared mission heavy in the air. The flickering light from a nearby candle added to the solemnity of the moment, illuminating the faces of the two men who were about to embark on a journey that would change the course of history. Joku, the seasoned scholar and spiritual guide, broke the silence with a voice filled with conviction. "Kodo, the task before us is not an easy one," he began, his eyes locking onto Kodo's with a gaze that bore the weight of centuries of wisdom. "If you understand everything we've discussed, then we will embark on our mission in a few days. This is the second plan for you, a long and arduous endeavor that will require patience, unwavering persistence, and a deep commitment to our cause." Kodo, his expression a mixture of determination and contemplation, nodded slowly. The road ahead was daunting, filled with challenges that would test his resolve at every turn. But he also knew that this mission was his destiny, a path that he was meant to walk. With Joku's guidance, he was ready to face whatever lay ahead. "We will face many challenges in preaching and convincing people to embrace this new religion," Joku continued, his voice steady and reassuring. "But once they believe, once they see the truth in our words, they will worship you. Word of mouth will spread like wildfire across the continent, and soon, the faith of Sisu will be the beacon that guides our people." As Joku spoke, Kodo could feel the weight of the responsibility settling on his shoulders. He was not just being asked to lead, he was being asked to become the spiritual guide, the very embodiment of a new faith that would unite the people and give them hope. It was a monumental task, one that would require every ounce of his strength and resolve. Curiosity tinged with apprehension filled Kodo's voice as he asked, "How will I preach? How will I convey the message in a way that resonates with the people?" Joku's expression softened into a reassuring smile. "I'll provide you with some ideas," he replied, leaning forward slightly as if to impart a great secret. "First and foremost, you must learn about your audience. Understand their needs, their desires, their fears, and their current beliefs about religion. A profound understanding of your audience will make it easier to convince them of the merits of our new faith." Kodo nodded, mentally noting the importance of this advice. He realized that to be an effective leader, he would need to connect with his followers on a deep and personal level to understand their struggles and aspirations. "Second," Joku continued, "you must master the intricacies of the Sisu religion. This will enable you to answer questions more accurately and confidently, helping to bolster the credibility of our faith. Kodo's brow furrowed in concentration as he absorbed Joku's words. He knew that to lead others, he would first need to lead himself, to delve deep into the teachings and principles of their faith, and to understand them not just intellectually, but spiritually. Third, Joku went on, you should employ specific examples to illustrate the tenets of our religion. Show people how it can impact their lives in a positive way. People are more likely to embrace a new faith if they can see how it relates to their own experiences and beliefs. Kodo's mind raced with ideas, realizing the power of storytelling and personal connection in preaching. He understood that if he could show people the tangible benefits of their faith, they would be more likely to embrace it wholeheartedly. Fourth, Joku continued, his voice growing more passionate, highlight the strengths of our religion. Show them how our faith can bring meaning, purpose, and fulfillment to their lives. Speak to their hearts, Kodo. Show them that the path we offer is not just a path of faith, but a path of hope, of strength, and of resilience. Kodo felt a surge of determination as he listened. He knew that by emphasizing the positive aspects of their religion, he could help to win over skeptics and doubters. He would need to be a beacon of hope, someone who could inspire others to see beyond their current circumstances and to believe in something greater than themselves. And fifth, Joku concluded, his tone softening, respect differing views and refrain from imposing your beliefs on others. Uphold their right to freedom of belief and engage in open and respectful dialogue with those who may not share our faith. This is not a conquest, Kodo. It is a journey of the soul, one that must be walked with humility and respect. Kodo nodded in agreement, understanding the importance of tolerance and understanding in their mission. He knew that if they were to succeed, they would need to build bridges, not walls, to create a faith that welcomed all, regardless of their background or previous beliefs. These 5 principles will be your guiding light through the initial challenges, Joku said, his voice filled with confidence. With patience, perseverance, and a steadfast commitment to our cause, I have no doubt that we will succeed in establishing the Tsisu religion as a beacon of hope for our people. As the final words of his mentor hung in the air, Kodo felt a sense of purpose and resolve settling within him. The task before him was immense, but with Joku's guidance and the principles they had discussed, he felt ready to face it. With a solemn expression, Joku reached into his robe and pulled out a small, concealed book. The cover was worn and faded, but there was an air of reverence about it, as if it contained the wisdom of ages. This, Joku said, handing the book to Kodo with a raised hand, is your first Bible. Contemplate every word in this book and grasp the concepts within. It will be your guide as you embark on this sacred journey. Kodo received the book with a sense of reverence, his fingers tracing the worn cover as he felt the weight of the responsibility it represented. What does this book contain? He asked, his voice tinged with awe. And do I possess the ability to comprehend its profound essence? Joku smiled knowingly, his eyes filled with a sense of pride. This book contains the teachings and principles of our faith, he explained. It holds the wisdom of generations past, passed down through the ages to guide us on our spiritual journey. As for your ability to comprehend its profound essence, I have every confidence in you, Kodo. With dedication, humility, and an open heart, you will unlock its secrets and use them to lead our people toward a brighter future. Kodo nodded, feeling a deep sense of responsibility as he held the book in his hands. The journey ahead would be long and challenging, but he knew that with Joku's guidance and the wisdom contained within the pages of this sacred text, he was ready to take the first steps. The room seemed to grow still, the air thick with the sense of a momentous occasion. Kodo and Joku exchanged a look of understanding, a silent acknowledgement of the path they were about to embark upon. The dawn of a new faith was upon them, a faith that would guide their people through the storms of life, offering solace and strength in a world that was often harsh and unforgiving. The Road of Thorns. The dense forest canopy above filtered the sunlight into dappled patches, casting shadows on the winding dirt path below. Kodo, the nascent preacher of the Tsisu faith, walked with purpose, the concealed book that Joku had given him tucked securely under his arm. The weight of the book was both physical and symbolic, a constant reminder of the responsibility he bore. His heart was filled with hope and determination as he embarked on his mission to spread the teachings of this new religion, yet he was unprepared for the obstacles that lay ahead. After weeks of study and deep contemplation with Joku, Kodo believed he was ready. He had pored over the ancient texts, debated the meaning of obscure passages, and absorbed the nuances of the doctrines. Joku had been patient, guiding him through the labyrinth of religious concepts, helping him connect the teachings with the realities of life. Each session had been like adding a brick to the foundation of his faith, solidifying his understanding of the spiritual path he was about to offer to the world. His first steps as a preacher were filled with anticipation. Kodo envisioned himself as a beacon of light, illuminating the darkness in the hearts of those he would encounter. Armed with this conviction, he ventured into the villages that dotted the landscape, eager to share the message of Tsisu with the common folk. He approached farmers in their fields, craftsmen in their workshops, and traders at the bustling markets. "Listen to me," Kodo would begin, his voice filled with fervor. "There is a new path, a path of truth and enlightenment. I bring you the teachings of Tsisu, the founder of our civilization, who calls us to a higher purpose." But instead of the receptive audience he had imagined, Kodo was met with puzzled stares and dismissive shrugs. Some villagers whispered among themselves, casting dubious glances in his direction. Others outright ignored him, continuing with their daily tasks as if he had never spoken. The few who did stop to listen seemed more amused than inspired. One elderly farmer, his face weathered by years of toil, looked Kodo up and down before chuckling. "You're just a young man with big ideas. What do you know about truth? We've followed our ways for generations. Why should we listen to you?" Kodo felt the sting of rejection, but he refused to be disheartened. He pressed on, adjusting his message, trying different approaches. Yet, each attempt seemed to fall flat. His eloquent speeches, filled with complex theological concepts, left his audience bewildered rather than enlightened. He realized too late that he had overestimated their willingness, or their ability, to engage with such abstract ideas. The harsh reality of his failures began to weigh heavily on him. He had believed that the truth of his message would be self-evident, that the people would recognize its value as soon as they heard it. But the reality was far different. Instead of welcoming his message, they saw him as a peculiar stranger, a man preaching ideas that were too foreign, too complex, and too irrelevant to their daily lives. After a particularly disheartening day where he had been laughed out of a village, Kodo returned to his temporary lodging with a heavy heart. Joku, sensing his disappointment, sat beside him and placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "Kodo," Joku began gently, "preaching is not about the words you speak, but about the connection you make with the people. You've studied hard and learned much, but you must remember that not everyone will be ready to embrace your message immediately. They need to see the relevance of your teachings to their own lives." Kodo sighed, frustration evident in his voice. "I thought I was prepared, Joku. I thought that if I just explained the truth, people would see it and believe. But I failed over and over again." Joku shook his head. "You have not failed, Kodo. You are learning. Every rejection is a lesson, every closed door an opportunity to find another way in. The people you speak to are not just minds to be filled with knowledge, they are hearts to be reached, souls to be touched. You must speak to them in a way that they can understand, in a language that resonates with their experiences." The vivid imagery of heaven and hell left a deep impression on his followers. They began to see their daily lives in the context of these ultimate realities, believing that their actions on earth would determine their fate in the afterlife. This belief gave them a sense of purpose, a reason to endure the hardships they faced. But even with this growing group of believers, Kodo knew that his work was just beginning. The road ahead was still long and fraught with challenges. There were entire regions where his message had yet to reach, and many hearts that were still closed to the faith. He had learned that spreading a new religion was not just about preaching, it was about living the faith, showing people through actions as much as words that this new path could lead them to a better life. Kodo and his followers began to engage more actively in the communities they visited, helping with local problems, offering support to those in need, and demonstrating the principles of the Tsisu faith through their deeds. This approach began to win over more people as they saw that this new religion was not just about distant, abstract concepts, but about tangible, practical help in their everyday lives. Still, there were days when Kodo doubted himself, when the weight of the task ahead seemed too great to bear. But each time, he reminded himself of the commitment he had made, not just to Joku and his followers, but to the people he had yet to reach. He had been given a mission, and he was determined to see it through, no matter how many times he stumbled along the way. The journey of faith was never meant to be easy, and Kodo understood that now. It was a path filled with thorns as much as flowers, with failures as much as successes. But it was a path worth walking, for it led not just to personal enlightenment, but to the transformation of an entire civilization. As Kodo continued on this road, he knew that the true test of his faith was not in the number of followers he could gather, but in the resilience and sincerity with which he pursued his mission. The Tsisu religion would grow, not just because of the words he preached, but because of the life he lived, a life dedicated to the service of others and to the pursuit of a higher truth. The rise of the Tsisu faith. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting a warm, golden hue over the landscape as Kodo stood before a grand new structure, a church built by the hands of his devoted followers. It was a marvel to behold, with soaring spires that seemed to touch the heavens, stained glass windows that shimmered with vibrant colors, and intricate carvings that depicted the symbols of the Tsisu faith. The air around it buzzed with anticipation, for this was not just a building, it was a beacon of hope, a testament to the faith that had begun to take root in the hearts of the people. Kodo had come a long way since the days when his preaching had fallen on deaf ears, when he had struggled to connect with the common folk. His journey had been fraught with challenges, but through perseverance, humility, and a genuine desire to bring light into the lives of others, he had managed to gather a small group of believers. That small group had grown steadily, and now, as he prepared to deliver his first sermon in this sacred place, he stood before a congregation of over 1,000 devoted followers. As he stepped up to the pulpit, the room fell silent. All eyes were on him, filled with a mix of reverence, curiosity, and expectation. Kodo took a deep breath, feeling the weight of their hopes and dreams resting on his shoulders. He had been given a mission, a sacred duty to lead these people towards spiritual enlightenment, and he was determined not to falter. "My dear friends," Kodo began, his voice carrying with it a sense of calm assurance. "We have gathered here today to embark on a journey, one that will lead us to truth, righteousness, and ultimately, salvation. The path we walk is not an easy one, but it is a path that will bring us closer to Tsisu, closer to the divine order that governs our universe." The congregation listened intently, their eyes fixed on Kodo as he spoke. He could see the flicker of understanding in their gazes, the dawning realization that they were part of something greater than themselves. "We live in a world filled with chaos, uncertainty, and suffering," Kodo continued. "But amidst the darkness, there is a light that comes from living in harmony with the fundamental principles that Tsisu has laid out for us. It is a light that guides us towards goodness, compassion, and truth. It is a light that can never be extinguished, so long as we remain true to our faith." Kodo paused, letting his words sink in before pressing on. "Our religion is simple," he said, his voice ringing with conviction. "It is a religion of the heart, a religion of action. It is about doing good, not for the sake of reward, but because it is the right thing to do. It is about living with a benevolent heart, treating others with kindness, and striving to make the world a better place for all living beings. This is the essence of the Tsisu faith." A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd, and Kodo felt a surge of confidence. He knew that his message was resonating with them, that they were beginning to see the truth of his words. In the teachings of Tsisu, Kodo went on, "We learn that life is not just about surviving, but about thriving. It is about finding meaning and purpose in everything we do, about connecting with the divine within ourselves and others. When we live in accordance with these principles, we create a heaven on earth, a paradise of peace, joy, and fulfillment. But when we stray from this path, when we allow ourselves to be consumed by greed, hatred, and ignorance, we create our own hell, a place of suffering and despair." The vivid imagery of heaven and hell, of paradise and torment, struck a chord with the congregation. Kodo could see it in their faces, in the way they leaned forward, hanging on his every word. He knew that he had touched something deep within them, something that had been waiting to be awakened. "We are at a crossroads," Kodo declared, his voice growing more passionate. "We have a choice before us. We can continue to live in the darkness, trapped by our fears and desires, or we can choose the path of light, the path of truth, the path of Sisu. It is not an easy choice, but it is the only choice if we wish to find true peace and happiness." A sense of purpose filled the air as Kodo's words took hold. The congregation, once a collection of individuals searching for meaning, was now united by a shared belief, a shared goal. They were not just followers, they were part of a movement, a spiritual revolution that had the power to transform their lives and the world around them. Kodo's voice softened as he concluded his sermon, his words filled with compassion and hope. "Let us walk this path together," he said. "Let us support one another, lift each other up, and guide each other through the challenges that lie ahead. Let us be the light that shines in the darkness, the beacon of hope that leads others towards the truth. And let us do it all in the name of Sisu, who watches over us and guides us on our journey." As Kodo stepped down from the pulpit, the congregation erupted into applause, their cheers echoing through the vast halls of the church. They were energized, inspired, and ready to take on the world with the teachings of Sisu as their guide. They had found a leader in Kodo, someone who not only understood their struggles, but who could show them a way forward. In the weeks and months that followed, the church became the center of their community, a place where they could gather, learn, and grow in their faith. The followers of Sisu began to organize themselves, taking on roles and responsibilities to support the growing movement. They established charitable initiatives, helping the poor and the sick, and spreading the message of Sisu to neighboring villages and towns. Kodo continued to preach, his sermons growing in depth and complexity as he gained confidence and experience. He spoke of the interconnectedness of all life, the importance of compassion and empathy, and the need to live in harmony with the natural world. He addressed the challenges of daily life, offering guidance and support to those who struggled with fear, doubt, and temptation. Kodo's reputation as a spiritual leader spread far and wide, and soon, he was being invited to speak in other towns and cities. His followers grew in number, and with them, the influence of the Sisu faith. It was no longer just a small, local movement. It was becoming a force to be reckoned with, a new religious order that had the potential to reshape the spiritual landscape of the continent. But Kodo remained humble, always mindful of the responsibilities that came with his growing influence. He knew that the path ahead would be difficult, that there would be many challenges and obstacles to overcome. But he also knew that he was not alone. He had the support of his followers, the wisdom of Joku, and the guidance of Sisu to see him through. As he looked out over the congregation, now numbering in the thousands, Kodo felt a deep sense of fulfillment. He had found his purpose, his calling, and he was ready to lead his people towards a brighter future. The road ahead was long and uncertain, but with faith, determination, and the power of the Sisu teachings, he knew that anything was possible. The rise of the Sisu faith had begun, and there was no turning back.
A deep house trap with a haunting, melting flow.